Hey, I've had a little mishap with my Typhoon H during a curved cable cam mission. I set a couple of waypoints to make it fly around a small lake, and apparently I found out you should keep the lowest altitude above 40 feet or about 12 meters. I think I set it to about 6 maybe, just above the water. So it kind of was my own mistake. I didn't know at the time. I did more curved cable cam missions and they all worked out fine, but I never realized or never even noticed that the waypoint flying of the H is not really accurate. So this kind of made it clear to me. And things went horribly wrong because when it reached the 6 meters that I set, it just kept going. And I pushed the exit button on the SD16, gave it full throttle, but I was too late, so it just took a dive into the lake, and it fried 2 of the ESCs on the main board. So I ordered a new main board, and I installed it myself, and test flew it, and it all works fine again. All I did was replace the main board, so that's what this video is about, replacing the main board on the Typhoon H. Okay, so let's start the disassembly. I already took apart the GPS, the cover with the GPS. This plug right here went in here, this socket. So this first thing. Of course the wires is always the front, so you keep that in mind. Now what I'll start doing is peeling back all the tape that's on it. So I got some tweezers, gently pry everything loose. The great thing is that it's all modular, because these are all simple bullet connectors. So you can just unplug them, plug in the new ESC board, a new power distribution board, and then you're good to go. So now we got rid of all the tape. I'll remove the plug from the main board, which is, I believe, the flight control board. To take this out, don't just rip it, just gently wiggle it back and forth and back and forth. It'll come out. Oh, there we go. Now next thing we do is just take out all the plugs that go all around it, so it's entirely loose, and then I'll remove the screws. Take out the plug, start in the back closest to me, and then I'll just go clockwise. Try not to forget anything. This wire, I'll always trace where they go. This wire goes to the LED, the main LED module on the bottom that shows your aircraft's flight status. So that came off here. Came off near the ground wire for this board. One screw you should not forget when taking off the board is this one, because it grounds the main board, this board to the main board. Small plug with 2 wires. I believe they should be in LED module for this arm. So the status LED on the bottom of the arm. That's connected by this. This one is a 3 wire. Let's see where it goes. Goes underneath, goes to this board. There we go. Now, well, of course, the bullet connectors on this one. These are on the bottom of the arm, which is not too handy, but you can just pull them up. To keep from damaging the shrink wrap, I use my pliers, put a little tape on it. I'm not going to use it again, so there we go, just to connect, to protect the shrink wrap over the bullet connector. This one doesn't matter because it's going to go anyway. Oh, damn it. Just turn it slowly. Yep, there we go. Now see, shrink wrap is all still in one piece, no problems. So now I have this arm disconnected. I'll fold it down to make sure that I know that I disconnected it. The next one, turn and turn. One is gone. Number two. Number three. And this one is, of course, again, a tough one. Now it's coming out. Yeah, as long as I keep turning it. There we go. Now this arm is disconnected. Fold it down. Here we have another status LED nav light from this arm. So now it's completely disconnected. The entire arm is loose. The next one, there we go. I'll leave the power on for now. This side, power wires, I'll do that later on. It's attached to the front board, which comes with the new board, so that's already attached. So there's no soldering required at all. Status LED, nav LED I mean. Gently wiggle it, because it's hard to get to with the other connector next to it. I'm going to find out what this one is for. Looks like it's going to the camera gimbal. So this one is for the camera gimbal. I did notice my camera did get a bit shaky sometimes after the last dip in the water, because I did, of course, test whether it still worked. And I'll power on the board after everything is disconnected, so you can see what's wrong with it. But I no longer want to power it on with everything connected, because I don't trust it anymore. So I want to make sure that everything is gone. Every plug is out. And no power leakage or shorts can ruin any more parts of my Typhoon. Let's check. All plugs in the top side are disconnected. Yep. Now we do still have some plugs on the bottom and the sides of the board. Right now I'll disconnect this board. Take out this tiny screw. I need a smaller screwdriver for this. Now once you get it out, make sure it's in a safe spot. What I always do is I get a magnetic pin in which the screws just always stay. So this one is out. We have two plugs underneath here, which I will most likely be able to just pry out like this. There we go, that's number one. Once I take the board off, I can remove these two plugs. They're easier to get to. Now on the sides, we have one on the right front, and this one goes to your sonar for the obstacle avoidance. It's easy to remember because it's a black plug, tiny black plug. Now on the front side, doesn't look like there's any plugs here. There is a wire to the switch, but it looks like this wire goes to this connector, this side. So this is the power switch. Remember, left front side power switch. Now the rest all looks to be disconnected. Yep. One more check. All plugs are out. There we go. Arms can get laid down. Then it's time to remove the screws holding the main board. But before I do that, let's get this module out. Now, I have taken the plug out of the sonar, so I can just take out the entire sonar module. And this gives me room to remove the two screws for the power connector for the battery. So gently place it on its back. I think I'm going to hold it. I think that's a bit safer than putting it on the board. And remove the two screws. What I usually also do is keep the screws that I have unscrewed in a place that coordinates with the board itself. So this one came from the back right. These two came from the power module. These are very recognizable screws, of course, because they have this large flat head. And of course, I can always look back in this video if I have forgotten anything. Now, power plug's loose, fold it over, and we're good to go. One thing I haven't shown you is I reinstalled this after taking off the shell. So first I'm going to remove this and then the wire as well that leads to the right front side of the board where the gimbal connection is made. So let me quickly get this off. It's just held down with 3 screws. So, but if you took the shell off, this thing will probably be off already. I didn't want to leave it dangling just by its wire, so that's why I reinstalled it. Here we go, module's undone. Be careful when removing the wire because it's got this little latching slot over here. There we go. Flip the H over and I'll put this aside for now. I'll make sure I leave the screws in the holes because then you will never lose them, at least if you don't knock them over. So now turn the H back facing forward, and now we can undo the screws holding the board in place. As far as you can see now, it's only 4 screws. And once again, I'll put the screws back in the orientation that they were put into the board. So if all is well now, the board should be loose. So let's gently try and wiggle it. There we go. And it's loose. Now it's only held down by these 2 plugs in the back. Yeah. Now the big one's off already. This one is for the RealSense module. I'll just leave it hanging over the frame as it is, so I can just know where to plug it back in. There's no use pulling all the wires from the frame because I'll be installing the board, the new board that's coming in tomorrow. So now the board's all off, everything's off. Yeah, nothing left here. So one thing left to remove is this cushion. I'm not sure, Yeah, it's just to protect this. I think this one is covering the barometer, but I'm not entirely sure either. No, I don't think there's a barometer under here. Yeah, oh yeah, there it is. Yep, that small little. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, let me put it in the light. That small little silver. I think this little unit here is a barometer, and it should be covered by foam. It should be covered from light and wind and that kind of stuff. So, and I suppose this little cushion is for protecting the flight controller. You can just easily peel it off. It's sticky on the bottom. Just gently peel it off. Try not to rip it. And there we go. Comes off in one piece. It's still sticky enough, so I can still use that again. Now, put the old board aside, and I'll just wait for the new board to come in. In the meantime, I do want to check my motors if they're still all functioning. So what I'll do is grab an ESC. Just any ESC will do, just as long as it provides power. Now, I think this should work. Now what you do, a little plug here connecting my XT60 connector so I can plug in my battery. On this one I'll just use a servo meter, switch it to manual so I can control the rotation speed and add power. Servo checker is connected, set to manual. Well, let's see if it works. Okay, I got a 3-cell power. I've made a little connection adapter so that it'll fit. Just cut the old bullet connectors off the old board, so that should work. Now I can just plug them in. Once again, the colors don't matter because the rotation of the motor is at this moment of no importance, as long as they turn and don't sound terrible, then it's all fine. Now let's see how she fares. We have a beeping, so the motor's probably still working. Yep, all smooth sailing. Tomorrow the board will come in, the new one, and I'll install it. In the meantime, I'll just go and clean some components because this one's a little dusty. I've had my H for a couple of months now and fly it on a regular basis, so it does tend to get a little dirty, and this also gives you a chance to get it cleaned, because if you look inside the battery bay there's dust and everything in there. So I'll just give it a good clean and then I'll install the new board tomorrow morning or afternoon, depends when it comes in. There's one thing I still want to show you. You can check the board for ESCs that work and don't work. At least this was what I found when I checked my board with the case off. You can see all the wires are off. Reinstalled the old board for now. I put in a battery and connected the power switch to the side here. Only thing connected is the power switch, so I can't fry anything, nothing could happen because it's not giving power to any other part of the board. Flight controller is off, so it's just the ESC power distribution board. Every ESC, which are these, has a light on it, an LED, a blue LED. If they don't come on, means the ESC is fried. As you can see, I only have 4 blue lights flickering. So this means that two of my ESCs are fried, and it's this one and this one. That's the reason probably why these two navigation lights wouldn't come on. So I do not expect that the nav lights on the arms are busted. Probably when I install the new board, everything will be fine. So fingers crossed, and I'll install it later on, and then I'll see if my suspicions are correct. While I'm at it, I'll show you how to remove an arm. It's fairly easy, no big deal. All arms are connected by just one screw. Goes all the way through, and all you have to do is release the lock mechanism and then loosen this screw. There we go, bolts out. Carefully remove the wires, and there we go. The arm is separated. I removed this arm so I could check the board for the LED if it's still working. So it looks like these can be unlocked by turning them clockwise, counterclockwise. This is the open lock, so it should turn that way to unlock it, but I'm not sure that's going to work. I guess not. Got it loose. Turns out all you have to do is just give it a lot of force. And also what does work is, I don't know if you can see the tabs on the inside. Yeah, if I remove these tabs, will be visible from the side of the motor. If you insert it, you most likely see it. I'll focus. You just push that with a very thin screwdriver. You can help it a bit, and then it'll come out. And you'll have your LED board. So if they turn out to be defective, then I'll just replace them. Just a tiny board. I think it costs about €4, so that's not too much. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, it's cool to have all your nav lights. So I'll just leave it like this. The board should be coming in today, and then I'll get it installed. So my new board came in, and I was kind of surprised to see that it came with the flight controller installed. So this really was a bargain. It was only €109, so super cheap. I've seen them on eBay and Amazon for like $150 without flight controller. So I guess I got lucky. I got this from Top RC here in the Netherlands. That's yeah, one of the most renowned RC shops here in Holland. So, but only €109, so it's super cheap. Now, time to install it. First, before I screw it down, I installed the lower two plugs that were hard to get out. So they will be hard to get in when I have to reinstall with the board in place. So I'll just get these two plugs. This one went over. There we go. And the other plugs are, yeah, that's good to go. Now keep in mind that you don't get any wires jammed in between the board and the frame. It is placed up on standoffs, but still always keep in mind that you don't want to get any wires caught in between, because that could ruin all your effort. So I'll check underneath. This looks good. No jammings here. Yeah, all good to go. so I can install the main screws. There we go. Now this ground screw that went into the bottom, one of these bottom wires. Let me get a small Phillips head screwdriver. Where is it? Also not super tight, but tight enough to get a good connection. Shouldn't be loose. Get all my wires arranged, and then try and remember where they all went. So if I doubt where they went, I can just take the picture that I took, which I'm going to do now because I'm not sure where the LED wires all went. This long thick one, that one in here, and that was for the LED board on the bottom, showing the status indication. And then we had, this was for the GPS. Here, this one should, this was an LED wire. That goes in there. This one goes in to the side. It's relatively easy. Now take it corner by corner so you don't forget anything. I have to check everything again after I'm done, but for now this should be the best way to go. So just do it step by step. And there we have one motor connected. Right away I'll pull down this wire because it's supposed to go all the way through. Yep, all the way down there. That's it. Well then, next step. Next area over here. Then this one went underneath. Just make sure that all the wires go inside through the frame. So from the bottom up and then out of these gaps, because otherwise they will probably get snagged between the housing. And of course, snagged wires are never good. This is the power wire for the power switch. Come on. And there we go. This is the LED for the left front arm. One ESC. This one went over and under. I'll attach that in a moment. Leave it like this for now. The red wire for this ESC. The black wire for this. And the blue wire. LED wire underneath the frame. And back in. Keep it out of the way. Then we had our wire for this board. Yeah, I could stick it through the frame, so So now I will be careful not to lose the screws through the frame. And if I'm not mistaken, this one went into the top. This is a 4-wire. This one is smaller. Is this the side connection? It's the top connection. It's the gimbal connector. Yeah, went up here, I think. Let me check on the picture. So there's two 4-point connectors. Oh shit, there's tape on it. This was the sonar. Oh yeah, I remember. The sonar had the black plug, and that went into the side. Well done, Unique, for making things obvious. It's a good thing my memory isn't fading. Okay, here we go. One more LED. Oh yeah, so a good tip, if you start this process, make sure to remove all the tape before you take the picture. Or take a video, and then you can always go back in the video. Come on. There we go. And you see wires. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this one's really loose. Can be good. Let's try and squeeze this connector down a little bit. See if I can get this to fit a little bit tighter. There we go. Yeah, that's better. This was my USB connection. First get the LED in. There we go. It's my USB connector to the flight control board plugged in. Now for the last ESC to connect. There we go. Okay, looks good. So now we're in business to connect this gimbal connection plate make sure it's properly in place before you screw down all 3 screws. So just tighten one, get it aligned, and then tighten the rest. I'm going to remove this, of course, later on because I have to put the bottom housing back on, but I'll put it on for now. Yep, these don't have to be tight because I have to loosen them again. Connect the battery power. I don't know who soldered this, but this is a bit too tight. There's not much tolerance here with the power switch in front of it. Hold on. There we go. It's kind of a tight fit. And then we had these 2 screws to hold down the battery connector. And remember, tight is tight, and too tight is bad, because you'll tear down the threads in the plastic, and the screw won't catch anymore. Now, I think I've done it all except for one little item left, the sonar module. And that went into the front. It'll slide into these slots over here with the rubber damping pad that goes around it. Put the wire underneath the frame. And then reinstall the plug. There we go. Now I think I've got all the plugs in. Let's just check them all. Looks like we're good to go. Now, I guess this is my moment of truth. Good. Battery time. Click. I will get my ST16 for this, so you can see if it connects. And I will get my camera, but I will not connect it yet until I know that everything works. Because if something is wrong with it, and I don't want my camera to get hurt, because that would really suck. Boot up the ST16. Almost forgot my GPS. Plugged in. Okay, I'll leave it on the side for now so you can see the board clearly. Yeah, that'll stay. No, the ST16 is booted up. So now the moment of truth. We have a blue binding light. I can see the voltage already. It's acquiring GPS. Altitude is shown. So it is connected. Yeah, color changes on the light, so it is bound properly. So that's good. Now let me unfold the arms. I want to check my motors to see if they're working. So what I'll do is go to settings and disable the GPS. Now let's see if the motors boot up. All 6 of them work. Fantastic. I've got 6 motors, so that's good. I think I'll check the gimbal. Oh, I've got 4 satellites, so my GPS is working. No, it says GPS lost, manual flight, so that's all good. That means the GPS has not sustained any damage. I did get a compass reading from the GUI, so I will connect the laptop in a minute and see if that's still an issue. If not, then I'll do a compass calibration and see how it goes. Switch it off for now and then attach the camera gimbal. After my last check, the camera did get a little bit of a frenzy when I booted it up. It started shaking all over the place. So I hope that's something in the board. I hope it's not the camera itself, but no, let's turn it this way. Let me take off the camera so you can see what's going on. Okay, gimbal. Now the light comes on. All seems good. Red flashing light. Still connecting to the camera. And we have an image. So the camera's good. See if the camera controls work. Let's try my... Oh, the tilt works. Tilt down, tilt up. Turn the camera left, turn the camera right. We're good. See if it's still steady. Yep. All good. Now everything seems fine. All I have to do now is check the compass in GUI. So I'll connect the laptop and I'll be right back. So I've connected it to GUI. And everything has a green check mark. So orientation sensor, pressure sensor, compass, which I was doubting was okay. GPS is cool. Speed controllers, ESCs are all fine. And sonar is fine. So response is good. Going forward, backward, left, right, and rotate. Yep. So all sensors are working. Everything is back up and running. So I guess it's time to put her back together and then have a test flight. I have one more thing to check on power on. And that's, are my nav lights in order? Yeah, it's not seeing the SD16 right now, so checking the nav lights. 2 red in the back, 2 whites in the front, a green one, and a blue one, so we're good. Yeah, power off. And of course I didn't have the GPS plugged in, so that's probably why it wouldn't initialize. But it's working, so I'm happy. Taping everything back up with a similar type of linen tape. This is not a very interesting part, but this is the tape I use. Okay, it's time to reinstall the housing. So first I'll flip it over and do the bottom side of it. Remove the landing gear. And be careful not to damage your antennas. So just gently wiggle them out. There we go. I will remove the gimbal connector. Gently remove the plug. Take the bottom half of the shell. Make sure you feed all the wires through the correct holes so the antennas go through here. The optional real sense cable was there. Wait, before I forget. The cable for the gimbal was latched in here, so make sure you go front first, put it in there, make sure it's secure. Now to install the landing gear, it's real simple, same way it came out. Watch your antenna wires, so keep them away and lead them through the slot on the side of your gear. When you install the antenna mount, make sure you use the one with the tape on the side that the antenna goes. If it's still sticky, then you can just use the tape that's on there. It's no problem. Just feed your wire through the tube and then position the mount slide the wire back into the slot that's on the side of the antenna mount. Then your wire for the RealSense module, just stuff it into the side so it's out of the way and it doesn't hang in front of the LED light. I'll put back the cover, screw it down. Okay, next up is the top cover. First thing I'll do is plug in the GPS and compass module. There, that's in. Don't forget the power button, of course. Just to slide it over here. Then align everything. Check if there's no wires snagged underneath in between. And if it's all good, just snap the covers back together. Just gently press them together until they click. Everything back in place. Now, flip her over and reattach all the screws. 10 screws in total. And there we go, all screws are in. Let's check if this USB port is properly aligned, but it seems to be okay. There we go. Yep, works. Now the H is back in one piece, so all we have to do is a test flight. Now she's back in one piece. One thing you should always check is inside the battery bay. If you look inside, it's a bit dark in here now, but it's okay. Just check inside if there's room everywhere for the battery to slide in. If there's no wires in there, because if you insert the battery and you slam it in there and it snags a wire or whatever, then you're ready to open it up again and maybe order a new cable. Just you can cause a whole lot of trouble if you're not careful. So that's a bit of a tip to watch for. But it seems okay. Everything's fine in there. Now when you insert the battery, just see if it has the clearance that it needs. Seems okay. Yeah. There we go. And we have one Typhoon H ready to fly. Of course, one more thing to do before actually taking off is checking if the new board has the latest firmware, and if not, get it updated. I'll do a new compass calibration, all the gimbal calibrations, everything. So, but I'll spare you the details on that because everybody knows how to do that, and if you don't, you can either read the manual or check the other tutorials on YouTube. So there's a lot of information on that, so I won't be wasting any more of your time explaining how that works. So that's about it. Hope you enjoyed, and oh well, just watch the test flight. You'll see what happens. Okay, it's time for the test flight. I've updated everything. First thing I'm going to do is the compass calibration. So, calibration, compass, you probably are not going to see this, but Now the calibration's done. Next step is, of course, installing the props. Always check if they're secure, and they all are. Good. Now, I did leave off the gimbal because I don't want any bad things to happen in case it doesn't fly properly. The camera will at least be intact. So now let's take the controls. Here we go. Status is ready. I got 20 satellites, 19 on the SD16, so GPS is okay. Gear is going up. Looks good. Check obstacle avoidance. Switch it on. Yeah, it's on. See what it does. Yep, works great. So obstacle avoidance is all fine.